So how many times have you put off doing something because you thought the risk was too great, but out of necessity you then had to do it anyway, and then find that everything else afterwards was fine? There's no question that overcoming our fears is no small task at times, especially when we have a serious problem or a serious issue that we feel may threaten our stability or our ability to be able to move or do something that we normally would do with great ease. So I had that very situation over this weekend, and I know you've heard a lot about my back issues. Maybe you're a bit sick of hearing about them now, but I had this very issue where, obviously, a couple of days ago, as you know, I could barely move. I couldn't really do a lot. It felt like every move that I made was going to hurt my back, and it quite often did. And so the risk of not being able to get back, or be it getting stranded somewhere along the way, was very real. And so quite naturally, I was in fear about driving back. I was thinking about trying to make other arrangements so I could get my car back and maybe not have to drive. And so it was something that was on my mind, something that I was thinking about quite a lot. And it was a very real threat at the time to me. And so as time went by, obviously my back started to get better. I adjusted my thoughts and the way I was thinking about the whole thing, and that really started to make things a lot easier. And then I had a whole new thing to deal with, because obviously, in lots of ways, because of my back issue, I couldn't move in the same ways that I used to, or was used to moving in when I didn't have the back problem. So I had to kind of formulate new ways to move, new ways to get into the car without straining my back. I had also a couple of other worries, such as my back. Was it going to hurt on the way back? Was I going to get the same amount of achiness on the way back? Was it really going to force me to stop more times? Was it going to affect my driving? All these things were going through my head when I first got out there. But through necessity, I knew that I had to make that trip back, and I wanted to make that trip back. And so it was kind of like, it was much like we're trying new things in our businesses. It was kind of new territory, in the same way that with the whole thing with the snow. It was new territory. It was ground that I'd covered the thing with the snow before because I'd done it last year, but this was totally new territory, something that I'd never covered before, something that I'd never done before. I'd never had a back issue before. So it was a totally new issue, a totally new problem that was really challenging me in a lot of ways to kind of move forward. It's really interesting, and I had lots of things along the way. I got into the car, I banged my head, and I was in the car and I couldn't move quite right, and I had to figure out how to get my seatbelt on without straining my back. And then on the way home, obviously, it was very much different driving, because I wasn't able to move in the same way and change the gears and all this kind of stuff. So it was almost like I had to relearn everything that I'd done, in a sense, and then put that into action whilst I was, in the process of this whole thing. And I guess, like I said, before, you can relate this to your business and to anything new you learn in life, in a sense, whether it be through necessity or something that you actually choose to do of your own volition. There's often that fear process, and it's kind of brought that to light for me, in the fact that sometimes you can't spend too much time thinking about things, or that sometimes you just have to. It's almost like you have to give into that trust, and trust that you're going to get to where you need to go to. Because if you don't trust if you don't trust the process, and you don't take the first steps, how are you going to make that? How are you going to get to where you want to be? So I think that's the main sort of vibe of this video is just trust the process. Trust that it's going to be fine, and trust that you know what to do to make that fine, and then just get on and do what you need to do. So that's today's video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will speak to you very soon.